play extremely hard. As a football team, I think Tom Allen's done a very nice job there. Defensively, they play a lot of guys. They'll play their first unit and then sub in their whole second unit at times. Maybe that was a situation in the game, but they play a lot of players, and their players are playing a lot of plays relative to that. Ball, number 9, I think is a very good player, plays sort of a hybrid defensive back, linebacker position, but he makes their defense, I think, work by being able to do some of the things physically that he can do. They do return, I believe, 7 starters on defense. Secondary, 3 out of 4, 1 linebacker, 2 linebackers, count the hybrid player, and then 2 defensive linemen. But like I said, they're playing a lot of players. On the offensive side of the ball, remains to be seen who will be the quarterback. They do return 2 offensive linemen, 6 starters total. Westbrook and Hale, 2 very good receivers that are fade guys. And then Filer, number 1, is a guy that can make you miss. Stevie Scott's the running back, and then set freshman records last year, big physical guy, and then Peyton Ramsey and Penix are the quarterbacks. We'll see who goes. But both of those guys are very, very capable players and done good things for them. As far as where we're at last week, I thought, as I said on Sunday night, played very well in the red zone, 4 out of 5. Scoring opportunities down there, missed a 1 field goal, or it would have been 5 for 5. Bigger quarterback's playing well, and that gives you always, when your quarterback plays well, it always gives you a chance. And he's playing very well with only 1 pick. Tough to sack as well. 25, Darryl Stewart playing very well, along with our running back 24, Collins, doing a nice job. Good plays out of Cody White this past week, big plays, and Matt Seibert busts on the scene a little bit and has a couple touchdown catches. And we'll put Matt back on scholarship. We put him on scholarship last spring, but we put him back on scholarship, so he'll be on scholarship the remainder of this year. So congratulations to him. Also, again, I want to just publicly thank everybody who extended texts to me, especially our players, our former players, with the win number 110, and takes you back when you hear from people. It takes you back about their time here and the relationships that we're had and everything. So with that, I'll take some questions, get out of your way.
We talked a little bit on Sunday about different NCAA rules changes over the past few years. With the 4 games, obviously, veterans can now transfer out. Do you anticipate, or have you heard of any attrition? And if you run into that situation, how would you approach it?
I don't anticipate it. It may happen. I'm sure that in today's society, anything's possible, I guess. But I've not heard of that yet. But I can see things happening like that as you go through the course of a year, and how you address it. You got to get your young guys ready to play if something like that happens with a veteran guy.
Mark, Michigan State's in that top part of the Big Ten East, and I'm curious, with a school like Indiana, 2 really good recruiting classes in a row, a good solid coach committed to defense, do you sense them as a team that's breaking and on the upward slide?
They've always been a football team that is been extremely competitive in every football game, and they've lost games at the end of the game. As evidenced by some of the games we've had with them over the years. When Kevin Wilson was there, it was more offensively. I think Tom Allen's come in there and done a great job defensively. You can see his fingerprint on the defense. They play hard. They're sudden. They're good tacklers. They provide pressure. The offense has remained much the same. They've got a new coordinator in there from Fresno State who was at Eastern Michigan. And he's done a nice job, and he's done some different things that we have to get ready for. So there's that whole element that exists again now. So, but I think he's got to play he's got them playing at a very high caliber football. I know they had a disappointing loss to Ohio State, it sort of snowballed on them, but been there. They were competitive in that football game early in the game, and then some things happened and got away from them. But we're going to see how they play when they come to Spartan Stadium. But I anticipate a very good game. Always has been. I think he tries to do it right too. Yeah.
This will be the last time it's about you, but I know that you were everyone was kind of bracing for a celebration after the Arizona State game with your 110 alumni back and whatnot. It didn't happen. What was the moment like in the locker room? Team counting to 110 in unison, and you're with your team and you're celebrating something like that.
Yeah, it was a very special moment, because, they're at the tail end of everything. We've got guys who are at the front end of it, but it brings everybody together. I think it really does. It brings everybody together who was a part of this program. And hopefully everybody has a little bit of a moment to sort of take in with that. But I've said all along, we've got great chemistry on our football team, and got good guys, and they were excited. They were excited for me. I appreciate that very much, but they're also excited for them. It was a big win. Puts us at 1-0 in the Big Ten Conference. It was a win coming off a tough moment, which I think we've always tried to sit there and say, okay, who are we in our toughest moments? I think they defined themselves a little bit, took a step towards defining themselves. They have to got a lot more games to play, but I think we took a step forward. So that was exciting. But I was more, honestly, the 110 thing, that was going to come inevitably. I was more excited about going 1-0. So.
Mark, I know for the Western Michigan game offensively, the key was to find consistency, to build on that. Obviously, that didn't happen the next week. Now, I know it's not easy to say, okay, let's be consistent and do it every week. But how important is that now this next week after the way they played Northwestern, that you continue to do that and you don't have that?
It's very important. Early in the game, we go down the field and score. First series, and then the next number of series, we put ourselves back. We have a couple penalties, right, wrong, or indifferent. We have a couple penalties. We have a TFL on a first down. We try and run a race, and so all of a sudden we're behind the chains for a number of series. We get the interception, go down and score in a 2-minute, but then including that series, the next 5 series, we're down in the red zone or near the red zone with opportunities to score. And I think that was a very good statement. Conversely, on the defensive side of the thing, we went 3 and out or got turnovers. I think we went 3 and out maybe 3 times, maybe 4 and out with a turnover, or maybe got a first down and went 3 and out maybe one other time. So, the possession time in the third quarter, as I said Sunday night, was 11-4 in our favor. So everything went that direction, and that's why we were able to sort of separate, because it's a closer game than it's a close game in the first half, and then all of a sudden we separate in the third quarter. But sometimes that's how games go, and we were fortunate enough to be consistent what we were doing. And it's not easy to play up there, and it's not easy to get away from a Northwestern football team, because they always play everybody very competitively. So it's a good thing, but we need to be consistent. And again, go back to what I said last week: consistency in performance. And I roll my arms just like Coach used to do. But that's what he always said, and I believe it totally. Coach said, consistency in performance. That's where you're going to have to do it over and over and over, and be on the front end of things on a consistent basis.
Mark, you mentioned how you think you guys took a step forward this past week. You're kind of a similar position as last year, 3-1, coming home for homecoming. How does this group feel different than last year's group? Because obviously that Northwestern game last year, when you came back home, did not go the way you wanted.
Yeah, I don't know. It's every year's different. I think the mentality of our football team and what we've tried to do from the onset of this season, which this season, we're on that Chinese New Year type deal. I don't know when Chinese New Year is, but our season starts every January. When we go back to work, every February, when we go back to work and start fourth quarter workouts, our winter workouts. That's when our season really begins. When people start saying, okay, what are we going to do? Critique the season, move people around, get new blood in, all that kind of stuff. So from that point on, our seniors and our leaders on our football team, they've done a tremendous job in terms of setting the tone and setting the chemistry, I guess. And so they've done a great job with it, and we're sort of a different football team right now. Not that we were a bad football team last year. I didn't think we were. We just lost some close games down the stretch, and we needed to have more production. But we had a lot of injuries. We still got our share of injuries, but we're making our way through it right now. But remains to be seen what you do the rest of the season. We're 1/3 down. We've got 2/3 left to go. And we're in a stretch where, again, we play the next 2 out of 3 away, so this is a critical football game.
Speaking of consistency, how concerned are you with Matt Coughlin right now, especially now that you're in Big Ten play?
Well, you know, I'm concerned that he missed a field goal, but I'm confident in Matt. You know, he was the first team All Big Ten kicker last year, and there's a reason he was that. He's been very good throughout summer camp, very good. Probably missed 2 field goals the whole camp. But you get out there, you know, the wind was moving a little bit. You get out there and you got to make them during games. But he has his confidence, so if he's confident, I'm confident. And he's a confident player.
Mark, you mentioned about the Indiana quarterback situation with Ramsey and Penix. I guess from a defensive side, how much does having played Ramsey the last couple of years allow you to maybe back off that and focus more on what Penix does different? Or do you have to fully prepare for both?
I think you got to take both into consideration. I know Penix is coming off an injury and he hasn't played, and maybe it's a shoulder injury or an arm injury, so got to take that into consideration with everything. But I also think Dad would have said Peyton Ramsey has done a great job. He's a gamer. He knows where to go with the ball. He gives you scramble ability. He understands the defenses he's reading. Penix is a very athletic guy. We haven't experienced him as much, so we don't really know. But we've seen him play and make plays, and he can take off with it.
Mark, a couple quick things on special teams. Did Evan Morris not kick off because of the 4-game limit? Are you thinking of that? And with the problems Cody had on the punt returns, how is it now between him and Sellers?
The first question is we kicked off Cole Haan because we felt like at this point in time he was the best guy, but it's sort of right now it's a constant competition. And no, the answer was no. It's not because of the 4-game thing yet. And then the second question is with Cody had a sleeve on. I think that ball got caught on the sleeve. He did muff him, so we'll research that. We're going to look at that this week and see, make a game time decision on that. But Sowers did a nice job when he was in there, and he's been very steady throughout his time here as a punt returner in terms of receiving the ball. My focus on our punt return team has always been I'm a defensive coach. I'm just going to say what it is. Has always been the main focus is get the ball back. So you better be able to receive that ball. You better be able to have no fakes. You better not have any penalties that set you back even further. From a special teams perspective, we need to do a better job overall. And that's our message to our football team and to our coaches. And I truly believe if you're not coaching it, you're letting it happen. So we will coach that extremely hard this week.
Right here, I had a couple small things really quick. Are Penix and Ramsey different enough that you'll have 2 different guys mimicking them in practice this week, or are they similar enough, I guess, where you can...
They're different enough that you've got to put them into when you break them down, you're saying, okay, he's quarterback, and here's the place he's quarterback, and here's the place he's quarterback, and then look at them, I think, a little bit differently. With that being said, I think the coordinator is the same. He's calling the plays. And so he has things maybe he likes a little bit more with one or the other, but I think there is some similarities. So, not to be coach speak, but I think it's 50-50. Any question?
And then I was also going to ask, you mentioned Joe Bacci had the highest production points that you had ever seen. Do you have sort of a short list of the other high scores, I guess, that he was kind of...
No, I think that all those guys, all those Mike linebackers, because that's you've got to be productive at that position because you're in so much of the heat of it. But Greg Jones certainly has had it. Max Bulla, Riley Bulla, those have been across the scope of things. Those have been the majority of our mics throughout our time here, and all of them have had high production games, but never that high. I can't think of one getting into the 40s, but they've been in the 30s, and they've been very productive players. As we go back in this production system. Really is the same production system we had when I came here in 1995 with Nick Saban. And so it remains the same. And so we've got a lot of guys. If a guy gets 200 points for the season, he's an extremely productive player. So that ought to give you an indication of the monstrous game that he had.
And now I've actually got a real question for you, I guess. The tempo on offense, I want to say that first drive against Northwestern was probably the fastest I've seen you guys get to the line this year, maybe. It felt like it at least. I'm just curious, 4 games in, what your evaluation is of how the tempo's being used. And I guess as a defensive coach, I know they kind of can conflict with time possession and things like that. I'm just curious how it's worked out and how you see it moving forward here.
Yeah, our tempo can be as fast as we want it to be. I think that we have different modes, just like everybody else does right now. But we can also slow it down. So I don't know if I really don't want to give you good answers. So hopefully I'm correct. Okay, but I do see us using tempo, and we've done a nice job with it. Really, pretty much throughout, I think, the 4 games.
Mark, I'm curious, the usage of Julian Barnett and his ability, what is it that's maybe holding him back from getting more opportunities out there?
Pink eye.
No.
Yeah. Okay. He's had serious eye infection for about 2 weeks. There's been a number of days where he hasn't even been able to practice. So we finally got it cleared up. He missed 1 practice this past week. He missed Tuesday, and he's had a very difficult time getting rid of it. And so that's basically the reason. I mean, but you know, he's okay now. He's back in and he should be playing more because I think he does have ability. And as I said, I think we have some very good young players. And hopefully, we're going to see our guys, play more.
You also have a couple of, more than a couple of experienced guys. I was just wondering if there's a moment after the Arizona State loss, maybe during the week of practice, when some of those veterans, you kind of noticed them, they've been through it before, losing a tough game and then having to bounce back, because it looked like they were.
Yeah, I think we did have that, and I think that we've got experienced guys, as you just said, and I think that helps us be able to refocus and reset. And as I said before, I'm coming here, and there's going to be friction points in every season where you got to go this way or that way a little bit. You've got to be able to hit the reset button as players, as coaches, and be able to recollect yourself and move to the next challenge, because nobody's going to feel sorry for you. They're not going to wait. They're going to prepare, and everybody has a plan. This is an extremely well-coached conference. It really is. When you go across and you look at the teams, you see different concepts, you see different things, nuances that every football team brings in, and it's competitive. And somebody was going to rise up every week and beat somebody else, and that's really the way it is across the country right now. You can look at it and see that every single week.
Isn't pink eye contagious?
Was it?
Isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is.
So we had to keep him away from the rest of your players?
Well, I think so. His roommate got it too.
Yeah.
So.
I'm wondering if, because it's a big week for him, big day for him, what your relationship is with Lorenzo White. I know he's been hanging around here more recently than he had in some years. What's your feeling about him as a Spartan?
Oh, Lorenzo's been around a lot over the course of time. I've known him for a long time. Knew him when I was here the first time around. Got to meet him and know him a little bit. Great Spartan, very supportive. Talked to our football team. I believe it was last week. I think it was last week or maybe the week before. It was the week before that Friday. Being inducted in the College Football Hall of Fame is a tremendous honor, and I will be there for that. He's a Spartan. And I remember stories about Coach Perlis would say, run that same play again and put it right in front of me and run the ball, running 40 times, so toss, sweep, and that type of thing. But I think he's one of the great Spartans of all time.
Mark, Matt Seibert's story is a pretty cool one. Comes here from Buffalo as a walk-on, earns a scholarship. What did you see from him that allowed him to earn that scholarship this spring?
He first of all came here and played in 17 a little bit as a tight end. I said this, I think, on Sunday night, and then this past year he moved to defensive end. He's got that type of personality a little bit, sort of a toughness type personality, wants to collision people. And then he didn't get to play as much. He played a little bit, but not as much. And then he transitioned back to tight end in the spring. Did a nice job in the spring, and it felt like that warranted that scholarship in the spring. And then I just leave it up in the air and say, okay, hey, we've got a certain number of scholarships, you got to work for them and see what happens. But he played 47 plays this last week, had big moments. I think he had 4 or 5 catches, 4 catches, I believe, 2 touchdowns. And he's going to give you everything he's got. And I just thought that was warranted, but excited for him. Brings a certain amount of excitement to the game, and he'll continue to play, I believe.
Mark, kind of just the housekeeping stuff, I've noticed that no AJ, no Cole, are they still in the same holding pattern right now?
Yeah, still in the same holding pattern. I think that AJ will get back. Not sure about Cole, we'll see, and I know he's working extremely hard at it. It's been very disappointing for him and for our football team, because he's one of our leaders and he's been a starter here, but his overall health is our main concern.
And it's kind of a secondary thing, the running back situation right now, you mentioned Eli, Ant Williams getting in as the 3 back right now. Has he kind of moved up the pecking order a little bit, or what have you seen from him to kind of get into that mix and get carries?
You know, I think everybody brings a different, something different to our offense a little bit. So we've got 3 or 4 guys. We actually have 4 guys that have played a little bit, or played. He's probably played the least, but he gives you a little bit something different. He's a little bit like Jeremy Langford. That's what we've seen, and so we'll give him an opportunity to see how it all shakes out. But it remains to be seen how he's going to do, and same with the others. But we're going to keep pushing it.
Mark, you said Julian's roommate had the eye infection. Was that be Anthony, right?
That would be Anthony.
All right, well,
He missed some time too. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but that happens.
back to the running backs. How, when you have a guy like Elijah who's emerging as the guy who's getting most of the carries, what's the challenge in keeping the rest of the guys in the group engaged when they're not getting the balls many times?
No, it's challenging. You know, I would say it's always challenging, but because everybody wants to play and they've had success. But everybody has an opportunity to do things every day in practice. We're going to always play the best player, or the player who's playing the best. Maybe I should say players who's playing the best at that moment. And I'll even go back to when Le'Veon was here. Le'Veon played as a true freshman in 2010 and played very well early in the season and through mid-season. But then towards his freshman year, he wasn't as productive, and all of a sudden became Larry Caper and Edwin Baker more. It was more Edwin and Le'Veon early on. So it changes. I'm going to try and make sure that we ride the hot back and make sure that they have opportunities in practice to show what they've got, and then we evaluate game film and productivity and try and take it from there. That's good. Thanks.